Alright. Evening, folks. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. Today I had sort of a couple hours to kill in the evening, so I decided to just jump on and stream a little bit. I want to run back the list from yesterday with one small change. So yesterday I played 4 moons main, 2 suns main, and then 2 moons on the board. I suspect that Blood Sun might actually be better than Blood Moon right now. So I'm going to try 4 of these in the main with a 4-2 split this way and see how I feel about that. Blood Sun plus City of Traders is just like a sweet combo. Dr. Bill, thank you very much for your continued support. I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend, by the way. It's going to be fun. I'll send you a deck list either tonight or tomorrow. This may steal my heart, and I may decide to play this, despite the fact that it would be horrible in the metagame there, just because it's so fun. Oh, well, Spies, welcome. Glad you're getting to catch this live. Yeah. So the Sun makes it so it loses the whenever you play another land, sacrifice City of Traders ability. And City of Traders sticking around is what lets us power this out consistently. The Ren and 6 decks are playing not necessarily a lot, but some number of basics. And if they just go and fetch out those basics, then they can just keep returning a mountain every turn, right? They can still continue to produce their mana. But when you Blood Sun, you shut off a lot of their ability for them to say keep fetching or something like that. And so I think this card might actually be better. Blood Sun's also a little less risky versus the Turbo Depths and various other Depths decks that are running around right now, because you don't just auto lose to oh, I mooned, you play Depths, abrupt decay my moon, and the game is over. So I kind of did a prolonged deck tech yesterday. So if you're interested in kind of seeing why I'm playing this deck versus the version with Karn, you can check that out on YouTube later. But we're just going to go ahead and jump into some matches and see how this feels. Yeah, so the Blood Sun will shut off basically all of the utility lands minus the Lonely Sandbar, or whichever one they happen to be playing. That is still going to be able to be cycled because the Blood Sun only shuts it off if it's in hand. Keep. Opponent has taken a mulligan. Pretty happy with this hand. We get to turn 1 Chalice. We have a Rabble Master as a follow-up, assuming we draw another land. If we draw a Soul Land, it becomes Chalice into Rabble Master. Alright, so it looks like we're playing against Loam. So my hand is much, much worse against 4-color Loam than, say, a traditional blue deck. Which makes it so that I probably want to save my Spirit Guide for Rabble Master on turn 2. And just pass the turn here. Could consider putting another Chalice on 0, but drawing a Chrome Mox for me is still pretty good right now. All right, so Moon Effect would be pretty stellar. Just Shut off these other colors, prevent the repeated fetching every turn just for mana forever. Alright, looks like Chalice on 1 would have been fine. Okay, so we're not playing against Loam. We are playing against a Blood Sun, or not, sorry, a Merit Lodge deck. We're playing against, like, the green-white, sort of, like, Maverick-y Merit Lodge deck. So now knowing that... Land? There we go. Now knowing that, what do I want to do? Playing the Rabblemaster into this stuff isn't that great. I need to kind of empty my hand. So I think that's going to mean playing out a Chalice of the Void on 1. I don't think I need to play another Chalice of the Void on 0. I may end up putting 1 on 2. And I think I'm going to use my life total as a resource for a little while here. Take a couple hits, empty my hand for ensnaring bridge reasons, and then feel pretty safe as the game goes long. I'm going to try to hold this Chalice for a little while, because again, like, putting a Spirit Guide under a Mox is very good for me for a number of reasons right now. Trinisphere. I am not going to want to play that in the immediate future. So I think my Ensnaring Bridge needs to happen this turn. And I think I'll be willing to take a Night hit to keep this Chalice in hand for one more turn. Hmm. Five, 8, 9, 10, 11 versus 6. Maybe getting kind of punished here. No, the Knight still could have attacked in even if I played out. Unless I... Alright, no, this is fine. It's a really weird pseudo-mirror in Innistrad Revenue Service. Like, your chalices are better than their chalices because you can set your chalice to 0 and stop all their artifact mana. And their chalices are kind of dead. Yeah, I ended up moving to Shelby, North Carolina. So things are going quite well on that front. Eric, Relic is absolute garbage. I ran the list that was... this is not ideal. I ran the list that top-aided the big Japanese event, not because I thought it was good, just because I wanted to try it out. And then immediately after playing that league, I made the changes that I wanted to make, and the first thing I did was go and get rid of Relic of Progenitus, because I think that card is unplayable as Graveyard Hate in Legacy. No, you're not missing anything there. That card is just like not good. Like it's too slow against Reanimator or other graveyard-based combo decks to be reasonable. And against the like value-oriented control or mid-range decks that are using the graveyard, you're already doing things to like bully and beat up on them, right? So why? So in these decks, I like to have 4 Leyline of the Voids supplemented by 1 Tormod's Crypt most of the time. I think the impact that Leyline has on your turn 0 is very important because it allows you to make it to the turn 1 where you have all of your big impactful plays. So I think it's just a huge deal that you get that thing before your opponent takes any action. The Tormod's Crypt is especially good if you are going and playing Karn, but even if you're not, it's still fine. So the knight can't attack right now, though my opponent could eat a Scavenging Ooze to make it attack. Might as well make them use the mana. So the advantage Fairy has is that it's better with your Ensnaring Bridges. Did my opponent miss lethal by not eating that first land? Or no, okay, they got lethal a different way by growing the elf. Yeah, so most of my red prison sideboards start out looking like this. Well, more accurately, most of my red prison sideboards start out with these 8 cards, and then I adjust the remaining cards based on what my opponent is doing. Alright, so we're playing against the green-white sort of like depths Maverick-y style deck that we've been seeing running around. I don't have any experience against this deck yet. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of guesswork here in terms of sideboarding. I don't think Trinisphere is particularly good. I don't think Chalice is particularly good. I'm going to fill in 7 slots to muck with those. Probably Moons, Abrades, and Spyglasses would be the easy thing. Chalice on 0 or 1 has some utility in the matchup. But I think trying to hate on their lands, blow up their creatures, and then take over the game with Bridge and Planeswalkers is like my primary way to win. So this is going to be a keep. I'm going to need to do some math to figure out what I'm actually doing with this hand. So I go City, Mox, Imprint, Spirit Guide, Chandra. Or one, so I can get 5 mana this turn. So if I go Chandra plus this, and draw a land, then I can Chandra Awaken Inferno next turn. Or I guess if I Chrome Mox, Imprint, Blood Sun, play this, use 1 Spirit Guide to cast this Chandra. Then next turn I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Planeswalker plan is a go. Let's do it that way. Curving Chandra into Chandra 2 turns in a row seems like the sort of thing that I'm into. I'm also really not sure about the Thought-Knot Seers that were in the sideboard of that Japanese list. Like, there's so much tension with your Blood Moons, which I guess are bad in a lot of the combo matchups where you're bringing in the Thought-Knot Seers, but then those eat up, like, 3 of your sideboard slots for something of somewhat medium power level, so I don't know. Fool! You know not what comes. I don't even know that I care about this Giver of Runes. I kind of just want to, like, aggro out my opponent's life total with 2 Planeswalkers. But dealing 2 damage to this right now is probably fine. Chandra Stompy. We have 2 Chandras. They are stomping. Mission completed. You know, I really wanted to play that one out to have fun with my 2 Planeswalkers, but, like, I respect the concession there. Oh man, you're up to 13 months now? Thank you very much for your continued support. It means a lot. Praise be to Thalia. And Thalia's weird cousin, Blood Moon. There's not much of a family resemblance. So my opponent has mulliganed. My hand is actually pretty weak. Like, I would be keeping this hand on the strength of a Braid. Rabblemaster is kind of whatever here. And I can't actually produce, like, a turn 2 or even 3 Chandra with what I have right now. I think I'm going to mulligan and just try to find something that's a little bit safer. And this would fall into that category. I think I'm going to keep this, ship back my threat, and keep my controlling cards. Well, I was going to have this long talk about, like, do I actually Spyglass on turn 1? But that answers that question quite well. So this spot is, like, super interesting because my opponent is allowing me to take the Misty Rainforest because they can just crop rotation it away. I still believe it is correct to just name the Misty Rainforest. And force them to use that crop rotation to turn it into mana. This also means that with the Reanimator Excavator, they can't just go and replay the Misty and continue to use it to fetch. Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. Yes, I do play Legacy on paper. I'll be playing a Eternal Weekend qualifier this weekend. uh, so it's possible that I should just like go ahead and name Knight of the Reliquary here rather than Thespian Stage. A little unsure about that. I'm going to do that. It may or may not be correct. But keeping that thing from activating might be very good for me as the game goes to... until the game maybe goes to about turn 6. Then, like, having one of these on, like, Thespian Stage ends up being quite a bit better. I also think they should have played the one from their hand rather than the one from their graveyard. Do I want to use this fiery confluence awkwardly just to get rid of the Ramunap Excavator? The Excavator isn't really doing anything right now other than hitting me for 2 every turn, which is relevant. I'm going to try to wait a turn and see if I can also get their Knight of the Reliquary out of it if they draw a land. And then this also gives me the flexibility to just go and send this Fiery Confluence at their dome, depending on what I draw. Innistrad Revenue Service. I actually almost played Modern tonight, but then I realized that like K-Ponce was going and streaming like a Modern D&T deck, so I decided not to just stream against him because we'd be fighting for the same viewership. As far as my locals go, there's been some interest in getting some proxy legacy going. Fudge. That's very bad. Okay, so I'm going to give my opponent more colorless mana if I actually play this. But I think I do need to play it. It just sucks. I need to keep my hand low on the off chance that, like, my hand size low on the off chance that I answer the Teague so that I can actually go and get a lock with an ensnaring bridge. So I don't need to play out the Chrome Mox this turn. So now I need like a Chandra, a bridge, and a braid, something of that nature. Or I am dead. Redraw? Alright, that is death. Gaddock Teague, very good there. I thought I was going to be fine that game. Teague ruined me. Yeah, I would have gotten to hide behind the bridge, then I would have felt pretty safe. Yeah, if I end up taking Modern a little bit more seriously, I want to go back and watch a whole bunch of K-Ponce's VODs. He seems like he has a similar degree of knowledge of Modern that I do of Legacy, as a specialist goes. So, like, he's able to talk about things like, what are the fringe scenarios for playing, like, X land versus Y land on turn 1? that's useful to me, like not really being familiar with the format at sort of an intimate level. Oh, and James, hello, welcome. Glad to have you here. Hope life's treating you well. Yeah, he's got a pretty sick black white Eldrazi and taxes list that I want to give a spin on stream at some point. It's apparently quite good against the Hogak Menace. Is it next week that we get modern bans? I mean, ban and restricted updates? It's sometime soon. It's within the next week or two. '26th. Yeah, next Monday. Thank you. This hand looks great. Keep. Yeah, it takes a while to just like soak in all the weird corner case scenarios that are relatively common to Legacy. So against Flooded Strand, our Abrade is probably the weakest card in our hand, so I'll be pitching that. Force of Negation, pitching Supreme Verdict. Our opponent is playing Miracles. Wonder how that's gonna go for them. This is another matchup where like Blood Sun is very clearly better than Blood Moon, right? Like I just shut off their future fetch lands. I make their cantrips worse by like denying them the ability to go and shuffle. I mean, we absolutely like disgraced a pair of Miracles players yesterday. Like it was not close at all. It was just like disgusting how good my deck was against theirs. Like when I started playing with this card, it was essentially to specifically bully this sort of deck. I don't mind just like casting this into open mana. This is not the win condition. Still not the win condition. But it feels okay. So that may let me cast my Chandra next turn. If I draw any red card. No, Innistrad Revenue Service, you're absolutely right. Like, playing at different times of day means you're exposed to different players from around the world, like, based on what time zones they can realistically play in. So, like, that is definitely a thing. I think it is worth Chromox imprint my Chandra Torch of Defiance to just give them that emblem. I don't think they can win the game fast enough. Surprise! What are you gonna do? Draw a counterspell? Force it, I dare you! Plus. Good game. My opponent letting both of those fiery confluences resolve definitely made my life easier. Oh, you vote for my Chandra. How's that gonna work out for you? How's that gonna work out for you? Jerry Freeman, I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Like, I love playing Legacy. Mentor versus double ensnaring bridge. Who would win? One emblem or an army of monkey boys? Phrasing sort of ambiguous there because they sound like apes. Not the intention. But you know. Your 10 cards in hand mean nothing! Nothing! You can Snapcaster Council Judgment, get rid of a bridge. Sure. Opponent is making a real effort to try and get there. If they have another Council's Judgment that they get to, they could conceivably actually kill me. Oh, neat. Swords to Plowshares a monk, gain some life. That buys them some time. I respect that line. New Chandra is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So good against any sort of fair blue deck. I can count on one hand the number of times I've lost once I plus Chandra once. Like, as we're seeing here, even if she's answered basically immediately, the damage is already done. Lol, 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 lol. It's not the first Chandra Awakened Inferno that gets them. It's the second. Alright, so what do we like against Miracles? I like Sorceress Spyglass quite a bit, and I'll probably end up playing Scab Clans as well. The Ensnaring Bridges aren't exactly optimal. Like, they were fine that game versus the Mentor, but I don't really know that that's the game that you want to be playing. I also don't know that I'll be Blood Mooning when I'm on the draw. This would leave me with a few answers to Mentor, Trinisphere, and Chalice to sort of like go and mitigate the problem, as well as a handful of threats. I think I like this. So sort of at Jerry, but anyone else who's really digging the Red Prison content. I'm unsure if playing the Karn package is actually the best thing that you can be doing in the deck right now. Like, the Karn package is obviously great, and it gives you some versatility and range that you didn't have previously, but the cost is real in that you basically have to play your main deck for most of the sideboarded games, which I don't really love. I'll be keeping this hand. This hand is absolute gas. So that's kind of why I'm exploring playing the deck in the way that I am now. Well, this is great. All my cards in this hand are fantastic. Jerry, this is an experiment. I just think that Blood Sun is better than Blood Moon in this deck. Like, it just has, like, such good synergy with my own City of Traders, specifically for Chandra. And it's also better against the Merit Lodge decks, in my opinion. And also potentially better versus the Ren and 6 decks. I'm not sure that I want to just cast my Chandra into the open mana here. I think I care about this card enough that I'd rather just have some redundancy. So I think I'm going to try to Chalice and then play a redundant Blood Sun afterwards. So play with X is 1, done, pay, done. Alright, that clicks quite good. Like, taking this Chandra is going to be great. But my opponent's plan, if their plan is to just, like, try and aggro me out, I don't really know that that's going to work when I'm going to shut down the rest of their deck so hard. If they blind Terminus and get me, they can blind Terminus and get me, but I'm jamming here. Yeah, and they're just done with me. Yeah, so Jerry, kind of on that note, a lot of the Ren and 6 decks also have a handful of basics. So if they go and, like, fetch even one basic and then play a Ren and 6, like, the Blood Moon just becomes significantly worse, right? Whereas the Blood Sun, excuse me, is still good against Ren and 6 afterwards. Solid opening hand. We don't get a turn 1 play, but we have turn 2 Trinisphere potentially into turn 3 Chandra, into turn 4 other Chandra, if we can get a red land or a Spirit Guide. Or if it's Reanimator, we have a bridge. Spirit Guide, Spirit Guide. So we need them to not have a reanimation spell. Because if they reanimate this Grizzlebrand, draw 14, they're definitely going to get something that they can cast to take my Ensnaring Bridge. And that is going to be no bueno. Well, that's a good sign for me. Means I'm not 100% just dead this turn. That's a terrible sign. Yeah. Oh my god, my opponent didn't draw a bunch of cards. They left me with my Ensnaring Bridge to cast. Holy crap. They are just so generous. So generous. We're not out of the woods yet, because they will still have either a Tidespout Tyrant or an Ashen Rider that can like go and answer this. So this is not the free win here. Opponent's life total is getting dangerously low, where like a Fiery Confluence may just end up killing them. Eh. Eh. All right. So now I'm dead. Like, my opponent just has like lethal on board. I don't have another bridge. I can't actually remove a creature. I can deal 4 damage to a creature, dealing extra damage to myself in the process. Dead. I think we should have been further out of that game than we were. I think my opponent gave me a real chance to actually win that game through their lines. Alright, so a Braid, not particularly going to do anything. Blood Moon, not really going to do anything. This Chandra is probably too slow. Then I have 4 cards left. Blood Sun, not particularly great either. Does this leave me with enough ways to win the game? So this leaves me with 7, what do we get, 15? This leaves me with 15 cards that can actually win the game. That's fine. So did they play out the Petal on their first turn? Because you might be right. If they didn't play out that Petal on the first turn, then they could have just gained 7 more life with Grizzlebrand. Then I could have stuck the bridge. Like, since they just had the Entomb, I don't think I'm getting there anyway. But I should have thought that through a little bit more. I was just, like, so surprised that they didn't fire a discard spell off at me that I just, like, slammed the bridge into play. So this is Sorcerer Spyglass, Grizzlebrand, turn 1 into turn 2 Chandra. That's a medium power level hand. I'm going to try to do something better. I would love this hand in, like, basically any fair matchup, but I I don't necessarily think this is good enough. So, for example, if they have an Entomb-based hand, like, they just get a different creature, or if they just put a 7/7 into play, I think I just lose to that anyway. This is a great hand. We'll be keeping this one. So I'm going to go turn 1, Trinisphere, turn 2, Bridge, turn 3, Bridge. And I'll probably pitch my Spyglass. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pitch my Spyglass. We get a lot of time with this hand, and we're going to have quite a bit of degree of safety. Unless my opponent has something along the lines of a Serenity that is going to like wipe all of my artifacts, I feel pretty good with where I'm at. Oh yeah, this definitely feels good. This is going to be the sort of hand where like I just have to be careful not to kill myself with my own Ancient Tomb. Once I get one red land, though, and I play the Chandra, that can be my primary source of mana for the rest of the game. And so I think things are going to be okay. Opponent has some decision point here. I'm not sure what that is. They can't play a 1-drop, so it has to be some 2-drop that they can play. Or something stupid like a Regisaur, who knows. Shenanigans away my Trinisphere. Sure. Not... This is obnoxious, actually. That's the sort of thing that I was afraid of. Like, something that can repeatedly destroy all of my artifacts. I think I need to still play out another bridge. The fact that that dredges and, like, will put a creature into the graveyard is, like, further obnoxious. Yeah, I thought this card was absolutely insane when it was printed. Into Grizzlebrand? There was already a Grizzlebrand in there. Did my opponent not realize that they milled a Grizzlebrand? Is that what happened? So that's kind of disappointing if so. Like they're not playing around like Fairy or Surgical by doing that. Yikes. Mountain into Fiery Confluence would be pretty sick. Can also potentially just beat my opponent with like a Goblin Rabble Master that threatens to kill them if they ever kill the bridge and then attack. No, I'm a teacher by day. So I teach Latin in North Carolina, and the streaming is a side gig. Shoutouts to my sponsors, Cardboard Live and Card Hoarder, for making that much, much easier for me. Alright, so I need to hold this Spirit Guide so that drawing a Fiery Confluence represents a lethal line. Then you understand most of the things that I'm doing if you're both a teacher and Magic player. Cheers for the shared background, and thank you very much for the bits. Yeah, so I guess I've been streaming for about a year and a half now, give or take a little bit. Hey, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. All right, so that's going to be Ashen Rider, exile one, Shenanigans, exile the other, attack with Grizzlebrand, hope that they draw 7. And then top deck Fiery Confluence. And Shenanigans was such a beating here. The green splash has been somewhat common. All right, double Spirit Guides. All right, we lost that one. So when I started that one off, I said that my opponent needed to have something like Serenity, or there was just no way that they could win the game. And Shenanigans definitely fit the bill there. Oh, and JD, welcome. Yeah, the girlfriend ended up like wanting to watch a movie tonight with a friend, so she's doing that, and I decided to spend like the 2-hour time chunk, just trying to see if I can make this list work. Like, I definitely feel fine against the Reanimator matchup. I definitely feel fine against that green-white depths deck. I just don't have any matchup experience. So, like, I feel like the list is conceptually good. Right now, I'm not playing a ton of Paper Magic. I'm playing Modern FNMs, and I'm playing a Legacy, like, Eternal Weekend qualifier this weekend. I'm not doing a ton of traveling right now. Like, I just moved at the tail end of July. So I'm still kind of settling into the new job. I'll do a little bit more travel once things have settled down. Turn 1, Chalice on 1, on the play. I think the rest of this hand is too much garbage. Like, 1 mountain, and this hand is absolutely insane. But I'm going to ship it. Holy fuck. Wow! Keep. I think I'm going to throw back my City of Traders. It's the better land to throw back in case my Blood Moon doesn't resolve. And if my Blood Moon does resolve, the 2 damage doesn't actually matter that much. My opponent has mulligan to 5. I'm going to save this Chalice to play on 1. I'm not going to get cute and like play around my opponent being a Mox Diamond or Lotus Petal deck. My opponent may end up conceding before they reveal what deck they're actually on. Okay, so some sort of Maverick sort of deck. I'm not just going to send this at their dome. I may need to remove some creatures. My classroom has a lot of like various wise phrases and such hanging around the room, a handful of posters with like maps of the Roman Empire and things of that nature. It was actually like the de-decorating that took me a long time. So I just want to point out what my opponent just did. They just discarded one of their best possible lands if they get to remove my Blood Moon and Blood Sun. To play this, which got countered, so that I can blow up their Mox Diamond. I just want to point out that that just occurred. Now, I've made my shares of punts, but that one was rough. Now we have a win condition. Yeah, Operation Monkey is a go here. It's a slow, painful, excruciating death. So, like, obviously I love it. I'm a Death and Taxes player. This one, I think, is going to be fine going on 0. Let's just, like, keep them from drawing another Mox and turning on land. No imprint. Jerry, that was good. I might need to, like, keep that one in the old memory bank. just in case. We'll draw up to 2 cards in hand so that my Simian Spirit Guide can continue to attack. Yeah, I would have boarded for Maverick if I saw Verdant Catacombs Caracas concede. Now I know that they're basically Maverick. This green-white depths deck apparently is something that I actually need to pay attention to since people are playing it. I thought this was going to be just like a quick flash in the pan. This deck doesn't actually do anything, but I might be wrong about that. Renin 6 going the way of the Dodo would help a lot. That card's an absolute beating. But I think we are actually moving in a direction that results in D&T being better, because there's starting to be more Red Prison and Depths decks, and D&T is very, very good against both of those. So if we start moving away from this Renin 6 shenanigans, D&T might naturally come back a bit. So, let's figure out what I do want for sure. So for sure, I do want my Abrades, my Blood Moons, and my Sorcerous Spyglasses. I can consider this, but they're kind of medium. So this is the stuff that I think is actively kind of whatever. I also don't really think my Rabble Masters are all that great at closing out the game, because they have things like Giver of Runes and Gaddock and Elvish Reclaimer that are just going to clog up the board. So I think I'm going to board these out. I'm considering just junking my Rabble Masters and intending on winning the game purely with the Planeswalkers. I am going to take the game very, very long if I board out my Rabble Masters, though. Which I think is okay. If I had Rabble Masters and War Boss, I think I'd be more inclined to keep both in. I can also consider Scab Clan, just to fill some slots. But I think I'm going to play Chalice against this deck. They have Crop Rotation and Elvish Reclaimer, in addition to Giver of Runes. Yeah, I think I'm going to play a harder prison game here. This is turn 2 Blood Moon with literally nothing else going for it. We're not keeping this one. Yikes. Is this a begrudging keep? Keep 3 lands, Spirit Guide, Bridge, Chandra. Try to play out Bridge, halt the early aggression, get to Chandra, wipe the board, profit, question mark? I think I, super begrudgingly accept this hand. I am not pleased. But if I don't accept this hand, then essentially what I'm saying is, that's actually a fine draw. Essentially what I'm saying is, I think 1 lock piece is good enough to beat this deck. And I don't actually think that's the case. Man, screw this guy. He is a jerk. Hmm. Well. So I can name Elvish Reclaimer. But it's probably better to just, like, go all the way to naming the thing that's actually going to be the core problem here and name the Thespian stage. I'm going to be looking to draw an Abrade to answer the Gaddock Teague. And then I'll unlock my hand. Nice. A Blood Moon, you say? Is playing that here better than playing Bridge here? No. Because my opponent just has crop rotation up. They can get a Dark Depths now. Use Elvish Reclaim, or alternatively a Plains. Yeah. So I think in respect of the Celestial Purge, I'm supposed to wait on this and just play out my Bridge. Is my Blood Moon a bait? No, I think playing my Blood Moon this early is a poor idea. Because of this Celestial Purge. I'd like to try to get my opponent to use the Celestial Purge and then play my Blood Moon. That is rough. Yeah, I don't think this Spirit Guide is going to be good enough to get the Celestial Purge, but I've been wrong before. I'm not playing the city there, because even though I don't necessarily think my opponent will do it, I really don't want them to wasteland me. So if my opponent is playing Force of whatever the green one's called, that is going to be a card that will pound the ever-loving crap out of me. Vigor? Force of Vigor? Yeah, okay. Vigor. If they're playing that, I don't really think I can beat it. Dryad Arbor. Oh man, am I actually going to get the Celestial Purge with this monkey? That would be so hype! Do it! Do it! Yes! Oh man, they can't force a Vigor with their Gaddock Teague. Sick! Alright, so now Now I probably have to moon. And then just hope they can't remove the bridge. I need to just, like, dump cards out of my hand. And then find a braid and win target game. You know, this is admittedly still quite awkward. Because my opponent can, like, crop rotation for a Dark Depths at any moment, and then if they can remove the bridge, they just have a 20/20 and I die. But we're on Operation Turtle pretty hard here. Alright, you have Green Sun for 3. Teague. So if they have Green Sun, they can't cast it because of their Teague. So this may be an awkward game of, like, Teague is ruining everything both of us want to do. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, my situation's not ideal here, right? So how many Teagues is this deck playing? Because I've played against it twice tonight, and my opponent has just, like, naturally had it on turn 2 in a bunch of games. Yeah, see, that's kind of what I thought. Like, I thought it was going to be a one of, maybe there's a second in the board or something like that. No, like, imagine this Chandra wasn't here. Like, this would have been my win condition, right? So now I imprint one of these, go down to 2 in hand, and still die. Now that I'm on the play, I can consider Rabble Master again. I still conceptually think that Big Chandra is fine. I think Rabble Master is pretty medium with the number of creatures that my opponent is going to have. Solway. Kuidagus. So, like, if my plan is to hide behind Bridge, Chandra works towards that plan quite well. But having all my win conditions be beaten out by Teague is rough. If I play the Rabbles, I probably want to play all of them. Doesn't seem particularly strong. Maybe when I'm on the play and I have a better chance of sticking Chalice at 1, the Rabble Masters do get better. So what if I junk these and then go down 1 Spirit Guide or Chrome Mox or something? Or a land. Just play 19 lands. Yeah, let's do that. This hand has all the right cards. So even though I can't make a turn 1 play that's fantastic, I think I'm going to keep this one and play around my opponent's Chrome Mox by playing a Chalice out on 0. I get an Abrade or Spyglass for their first play. I have Blood Moon and Bridge for the game as it goes to medium length. So I'm very happy with the tools that I have accessible to me. Since Giver can't protect itself, I don't necessarily need to remove it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and Spyglass. Oh, got it! Got it. Opponent's hand is absolute trash. Them drawing the Windswept Heath there is really daggers. It makes my Blood Moon so much worse, and it makes it so that they can realistically cast that Knight of the Reliquary at some point. Do I want to Moon? I don't know that I do want to Moon. Like, they have both of their colors now, so I'm not cutting them off a color. The Thespian Sage can't copy anything else. I'm going to play a Knight this turn. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and play out an Ensnaring Bridge. And just work towards invalidating the Knight in that way. Hey, welcome. I'm doing really well. Teaching's going well. Like my classes, the new school that I'm at is absolutely fantastic. I love it to death. It's a great environment. Kids are great. Oh, come on. You know you want to make that Giver of Runes attack. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and send the Moon out there. So we can abrade away this Giver of Runes and then, like, start answering other of their creatures. But until I need to answer the Giver, I don't know that I will. So I can consider answering their Knight of the Reliquary right here instead of their Giver of Runes. How do I feel about that? No. I don't feel good about that. So now we're essentially looking for a Chandra. Good job. What do I do with that? So my opponent has the ability to turn these into decent-sized creatures immediately in multiple different ways, so I'm not going to get to sweep the board with this. So this probably just needs to go to the face. I'm gonna think about that for a second. They can't get an artifact into play that I care about. I could use this. So the other thing I could do is I could use this to sweep the Giver of Runes. And then keep the Abrade for if my opponent plays Teague. I actually don't hate that, as weird as that sounds, because I feel like Teague is one of the only ways that I'm going to lose this game at this point. So you can go 2 damage to each creature, 2 damage to each opponent, and just treat this as like a shock that also kills Giver of Runes. I don't care about giving up my Spirit Guide. That's irrelevant at this point in the game. Yeah, a Volcanic Fallout. There's a Giver of Runes hiding under that. So they can Sajiri Step and protect the Giver of Runes if they like really, really, really want. Oh wait. So good. Double Abrade is a touch awkward. It's not bad because these knights are 4/4s currently, and my opponent doesn't have like a Scavenging Ooze or anything like that to actually like eat things. Alright, you crop rotation. You have another forest. You have a Dryad Arbor. Sure. Well, that's not the greatest. But that's also not good enough for me to actually care. So yeah, sure, you blow up one bridge. I still have another that I can hide behind. And I don't think I want to take the one here. So when my opponent attacks, I will go ahead and trade an Abrade to turn their Dryad Arbor into some other land. You. Oh, I see. So 2 things in play. I can either cast Abrade or just throw this Chrome Mox away to save 2 life. I want to save Abrade for Teague. Let's just counter that. Really showing off the range of the card Blood Moon this match. That's for sure. So it's these sort of situations that I really wanted my deck to have the big Chandra in it for. Because that emblem would be just absolutely disgusting. Turn 1 Blood Moon? I'm not counting out those letters, but that might be it. Oh, non-basic lands are mountains. Sure, sure. Got a good old-fashioned standoff here. Chalice of the Void doing great work at countering spells. 2 of my opponents. Sorry, 2 of mine, 1 of my opponents. But my opponent's one was, like, good and relevant to the game. Opponent, please! Please! Like, you're hemorrhaging value. Which happens first? Do I kill my opponent, or do they get bored and concede? They might get bored and concede. There we go. Win condition. Oh, that's a little unfortunate. That is also unfortunate. This game is going to go a while. Do you have another Rex Sage? Oh, you have a Knight of Autumn. That is inconvenient. So I'm just going to die to that. My opponent gets to attack me for 16. That's super unfortunate. Like, my opponent played that one very badly. So we didn't draw the Rabble Master there, so it's not like we would have drawn the big Chandra either. So I lost that matchup twice tonight, but I definitely feel like I should be favored with it. Like, I've made good deck building choices to be good against that deck, like with the Blood Suns over the Blood Moons because they're better in that matchup. Oh. I clicked that too quickly and X'd out of that match. But maybe the presence of, like, Gaddock Teague is more warping than I thought. Like, I lost 2 games basically instantly to that card. I have 5 sweepers for the little stuff in the main deck, plus 2 Abrades to answer Teague. Got the full playset of Bridge. I don't know. I think I need to play this green-white Depths deck on stream. Maybe Saturday. Oh, no. I think Saturday I'm playing in a paper tournament. Maybe Monday then. Maybe Monday needs to be that deck so, like, I understand what's going on with it a little bit better. So that I understand their outs better. Shoutouts to my sponsor, Card Hoarder, for actually letting me borrow all the random cards I need to experiment like that. They've made my life great as a Legacy streamer. That misclick, not getting into that match. Brutal misclick. Alright, here we go. I would like to play first. Keep. Okay. Opponent concedes to turn 1 Chalice. So, sideboarding. My opponent was last seen playing blue-black ninjas in August. Am I actually going to sideboard for blue-black ninjas? Yeah, I don't know about that. So what sort of decks are Stone Cold Dead to turn 1 Chalice? Life's bad for Storm. Life's bad for Delver. I guess it's bad for ninjas too, but how do I want to board? I think I'm going to play Scab Clans and Abrades. Scab Clans for if they're combo, Abrade for if they're a creature-based deck. I think I'm going to trim maybe a couple Chandras and a couple Bridges. No, I think I'm going to trim all the Bridges. Like, I'll have a little bit more removal, and then I can still play 2 Chandras, have enough finishers to actually, like, close out the game. Let's board like this and, like, actually make an adjustment for game 3 if we need it. I will be inclined to keep hands that have a fast lock piece of some nature. I'm going to keep this. It's a turn 1 Blood Moon if that's going to be good. Otherwise, it's a turn 2 Chandra. It could be turn 1 Chandra, but I think that's going too deep. It's just setting myself up to lose to, like, any counterspell. You get your 1 basic land. And then we'll see what happens from there. Really glad I didn't go all in on the turn 1 Chandra. Maybe my opponent is actually still playing blue-black ninjas. So does this list have flash creatures? No, it does not have flash creatures. Then I'm going to play around soft counter magic. And hold this Chandra for a couple of turns. So my opponent is probably going to have Daze and Pierce, as well as Force of Will. So I can play around everything but Force of Will by waiting. If my opponent doesn't play a blue land, I'll just jam the Chandra this turn. No, I think they have, like, either Ornithopter or the little, like, 1/1 fairy as enablers. Yeah, it's like a fairy or an owl or something. Nice. Yeah, so the random deck list that I pulled up has 4 Ornithopters as enablers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 mana. Ah. Sure, Blue Elemental Blast. The damage is done. It's here. So, do you have force? Becomes the next question. You do have force. Yeah, now it just becomes like, is the top of my deck going to be kind to me? Because I can very much deal with the stuff they have going on if I draw things. Like one Fiery Confluence, for example, would be absolutely amazing. Like, clear the board of all the ninjas that they poop out. I did board out my bridges, unfortunately. So I'm not going to have that as an out. It needs to be Fiery Confluence. And my opponent's up to 8 cards. So that's not really good enough. I'm going to go ahead and concede here and, like, actually sideboard properly. So these bridges I'm going to want. My other Chandra Awakened Inferno I'm going to want. How do I actually want to board? So all my cards that are removal or things that are stopping creatures are absolutely necessary. So all this stuff has to say. My Blood Sun, Blood Moon stuff is probably medium at best. What does my opponent's mana base look like? They're going to have like 3 islands, 2 swamps, and fetches. Maybe I'm not going to try to get the free ones with the moon effects. Oh, these scab clans also are not fantastic, actually. Like, my opponent is really not going to be casting that many non-creature spells. They're trying to, like, just get Yuriko and what's the other one called? Ingenious Infiltrator triggers and just, like, dump creatures back and forth. I think this is going to be fine. All in on turn 1 Chandra, lose to Force of Will, but otherwise be in great shape for the rest of the game. These hands are hard. Like, is my opponent going to mulligan to Force of Will? You don't play this deck to play scared. No fear. Kind of suck if I get Hydroblasted too, but, you know, whatever. I can't play scared, have to play, like, in the style that is appropriate for my deck. Right, this makes a Thopter for 2 mana, right? Yeah. This is actually pretty good against us. It's something I'll probably end up like abrading or fiery confluencing away as this game goes on. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, float that mana, plus the Chandra, then I can play a 3-drop if it is a 3-drop on top. It is not, it is just a mountain. I think that's fine. Hold up. I don't like that. Neat. I just totally did not realize that was going to be a thing. I just, like, mentally I went through that in order, and I'm like, oh, I'm so far away from the 4/4. Yeah, so now I'm just, like, losing this Chandra this turn. I can't even cast that. Yeah, I think I'm just losing to a 4/4 on turn 2. Well, that's super unfortunate. Note, Fiery Confluence is so beyond an insane draw. Yeah, so, like, when they had the Thopter, minusing doesn't actually really get me anywhere. So I can Chandra minus, kill one of these 2 things, and still leave them with stuff on board, unfortunately. So I think this Blood Sun has basically no text this game. So I might need to Chrome Mox my Blood Sun so that I can play a Chandra around a Daze. Because I think I just literally cannot win the game if this Chandra does not resolve. So I need to maximize the chances of it resolving. And if my opponent has Spell Pierce, I'm stone cold dead. Alright. So be it. Okay, so that league was an absolute disaster. But I still don't think that the deck is bad. New home's great. Absolutely loving the new school that I'm teaching at, and the area that I'm in is kind of similar to Roanoke, a touch smaller, but it's got that decent mix of like friendly people, kind of out in the country, but still have a lot of the amenities that you might like. So I'm Gifts forgiven. Thank you very much for the continued support. I appreciate you throwing your Twitch Prime this way for the 2nd month in a row. Okay, so conceptually, I like what I'm doing with this deck list. I like the 4 Blood Suns in the main deck supplemented by Blood Moon. I'm still fine with playing the Chandra Awaken ones. I still think Abrade as some early removal and answers to Moxen is good. I think a full set of Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck is good. I would 100% be willing to run back this list one more time and see if I can get a decent result with it, because I feel like the core of what's here is good and well designed, but that doesn't always mean you get the results that you are looking for. So we're running literally 50% with this deck list right now. We got a 3-2 last night, where the losses were close. Or no, I guess slightly sub 50% because that was a 1-4. Yeah, so Eddie, what I mean is specifically the idea of playing all your Bridges main deck, playing the Chandra Awake Infernos, and not playing Karns. That's what I mean by this core. And also Blood Suns in the main deck. Like, I think this portion of the core is good and worth exploring further. No, I don't think it is. I don't think you can go all in on like the Planeswalker Prison aspects, because in the matchups where, say, your walkers aren't good due to something like Gaddock or just the matchup being fast, I think you need to have like Rabblemaster and Scab clans at an absolute minimum to present a reasonable threat versus combo. Like when you drop the war bosses from the deck list, you lose the ability to get the early cheap kills. So the deck list I'm playing is gearing towards a long game, but since you can't always play the long game, you need to have at least some degree of respect for early game wins via damage dealing. So if we look back at some other lists that I've played, not this one. So this is essentially the design space that I'm competing with, is the version that plays Karn with just Ensnaring Bridge as a tutor target. And I think Ensnaring Bridge is just so good right now that you just want to be able to naturally draw it and play it out. Like, there's so many Dark Depths decks running around right now. Like, that strategy is just so powerful that I think even if I was playing a Karn package, I would fit 3 Ensnaring Bridges into that deck list. And it may be that, like, we're on the cusp of a metagame change where what I'm trying to do is reacting too much against the old stuff and not too much against the new stuff. Like, we may be at a turning point where the Depths decks are better than the Wrenn and 6 decks. So rather than continuing to board against, like, 4-color control and these other, like, blue mid-rangey decks, I should start gearing fully towards beating the Depths decks with what I'm doing. So I've got some things to think about here. All right, I think that's all I've got for you tonight. I'm going to go ahead and send you over to my friend Arkin, who is also playing Legacy of Some Nature. If you're enjoying the content, please follow. I'm usually streaming 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe a Braids equal Dead Gone. One of the Japanese lists played 3 Dead Gones in the sideboard, and I tried that out last night. I think they're awkward with Chalice when you actually want to use them as a 1-mana removal spell. Like, 3-mana Answer Merit Lodge is cool and all, but I don't know if that's really where I want to be. And the other thing about Dead Gone is if you're trying to be hellbent for their smaller creatures, like Giver of Runes and Elvish Reclaimers and Satyr Wayfinders and all those stuffs, holding a Dead Gone in your hand is like meaning that you're still taking some chip damage every turn in fear of like a Merit Lodge or something. So I don't know how I feel about Dead Gone. Anyway, I'm going to turn you all over to Arkin. I'll probably be back later this weekend at some point. Cheers. Have a great rest of the evening.